Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the American Dream podcast. I'm your host, Jim Tunison, President and CEO of the Aiken Chamber, joined today by Fatima Thompson, the forensic interviewer and MDT coordinator for Child Advocacy Center of Aiken County. Fatima, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, glad you're here. And for folks who might not be familiar or haven't heard about the Child Advocacy Center, give a brief description, what it is and who you serve.
Okay, so we definitely serve children within the community between the ages of 2 to about 18 and even some vulnerable adults. So the Child Advocacy Center itself, so we are here as a neutral third party. We get referrals from law enforcement and child protective services for any children that have witnessed or experienced child abuse or trauma.
Okay. Wow, I didn't realize it was that broad of a range. So you probably see tons of different
kids at different ages, different allegations, ranging from witness to homicide to sexual assault to neglect. It just ranges.
Wow. So this is some pretty heavy work. What got you into the psychology, advocacy, and ultimately the work that you're doing today?
Okay, yeah. So, well, like we said, my background is psychology, and I worked at a few different psych hospitals while in undergrad. Mm-hmm. And then I started managing a private practice, Jones Behavioral Health in Augusta, Georgia. And, Mr. Al Jones has had a practice for over 20 plus years. And, it's still there, and it's still, a very respectable practice. And he taught me a lot about just business in general and just about serving the community, because we did a lot of community work with different churches and just being vendors in different community events that they would have. So just serving the community, realizing, okay, well, I have to be a servant leader, and I'm getting a lot of good feedback from kids that are looking up to me, not just the adults, but the kids who are more impressionable. And I realized when working at the psych hospitals, they would put me on a one-to-one with most of the troubled kids, but they would, I would rub off of them. They would look at me as a role model. Mm-hmm. And I realized, okay, well, this is my purpose. Yeah. So I started working with, the troubled youth, when really they're just misunderstood and need guidance. And, coming to the Child Advocacy Center, I didn't know what to expect. I just wanted to, kind of learn something new, because Al has taught me so much about business, but I knew that, okay, I'm not ready to run a business right now. I know that I need to learn more and be a worker bee. So I went for the Child Advocacy Center, and they looked at my background. They were like, okay, well, we want you to do forensic interviewing and do MDT coordinator, because we all have dual roles. Mm-hmm. So, like we said, we get referrals from law enforcement and child protective services, and we do the free forensic interviews because we are a nonprofit organization. We do free forensic interviews, forensic medical exams, and we offer trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy. Oh, wow. All for free.
Full spectrum there.
Yeah, so full spectrum. We serve the community. We used to do Christmas drives, and just as vendors, just giving back. So we're here, like we said, to be as neutral third parties to the community. But what really brought me to that was realizing, okay, well, the kids do listen to me. They open up to me, they listen to me, and we can go somewhere with this. And, whenever I can tell them, when they come and tell me their story, I can guarantee them that this is a safe space and we're going to have resources for them.
Yeah, no, that's very important. And talk to me a little bit about the process, because I know, the CAC has designed the model so the children might only have to reshare that story one time. Why is that so important for, just to tell it once and then kind of, be done with it?
Right. So for one, experiencing trauma is hard on its own. And then talking about it, you don't realize you're triggered until you are in that moment. Mm-hmm. So when I'm literally in front of a child, just how you and I are sitting in front of each other, we're talking about the darkest times in their lives at 5 years old, from a 5-year-old's language. And they don't even understand that this is so hard for them. Right. And they don't want to keep talking about it. But we do have cameras, and we have our investigators on the other side watching, who are the most important people that need to know. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to continue telling your story to too many people, because the people that need to know, we know, and we're here to help you. And we're here to make sure that it doesn't happen to you again.
Right. And then that way, tell it once.
Yeah.
And then hopefully try to move on from that, right?
Exactly. In which we provide those resources too with trauma-focused behavioral health therapy, which is free for the kids that come in, and we can just get them on a schedule and work through that trauma and teach them coping skills so they can have better dynamics as they get older.
And you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier when you said troubled youth. This is very sensitive work. What do you wish more people knew or understood about the children and the families that come through your center?
Well, for one, what will make them troubled is their experiences. The fact that they've gone through so much trauma, had no outlet, no one to talk to, and now they're, trying to figure life out on their own with their young hormonal kid brains.
But even, take the trauma out of it, it's difficult, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's difficult. So a lot of times they're misunderstood and they don't understand that there's so many resources out here for them, especially out here in Aiken. It's so much out here for them. So many mentors that are willing to lend a helping hand and teach them how to make a resume, how to apply for college, how to dress for success, just so they won't be products of their environment. And a lot of times those kids that become products of their environment, unfortunately, it's another mugshot, because there's no guidance there in our community. So we are here to kind of guide them and do that. But it just takes for someone to say, okay, well, I'm listening to you. Let's find that help. Let's come speak up. You have a safe space, somebody to talk to that can give you resource and guidance so you can become a great adult one day.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So, prevention and education are also part of your work. So what should parents, caregivers, school, community members, what should they be on the lookout for? You maybe recognizable warning signs, that they can spot and maybe, step in and try to help the situation?
Well, for one, I would start with the schools because of course we get a lot of our referrals, from, Child Protective Services or law enforcement. It's from the schools first because the teachers are the ones that are spending the most time with the students every day. And in the state of South Carolina, all of the adults, especially at the schools, we're all mandated reporters. If you see a bruise on the arm that kind of looks a little questionable, like if this kid's small, he doesn't have a cat. Right. Why did you come out with scratches on your arm? Ask those questions. Create the safe space for the child, especially if okay, she's come to school with the same dirty shirt for 3 weeks straight. What's going on at home? So it may not be necessary, like the kid may not be and this may not have the words to formulate like, hey, like this is my norm. This is what life is really going on at home. Because some adults don't want to pry and ask these questions. And then the kid may be scared that they may be taken away. I would say for the children that are going to the schools and the teachers are seeing them 8 hours a day, create the safe space for the child, study the child. And, if there are different warning signs to you, and if your gut is saying, ask the question, you don't know where it's going to lead. And for the parents themselves, those of us that are parents, I would recommend them taking a parenting class and understanding that we are responsible to our child and we have to do less control and more influence and become regulated adults. So we can understand, okay, the difference between discipline and abuse.
Yeah. I know that's a fine line too. But no, those are definitely some good tips. It's funny. We often talk, this is the American Dream podcast, but for this conversation, I think I want to pose this question a little bit differently. How does protecting children, helping families heal, and giving kids a safe space and a future really connect to this idea of the American dream and building the type of community that we really want?
That is the American dream. When you think of the American dream, you think of white picket fence, the American flag, the nice house, and kids playing outside in a safe space. We don't think about the unfortunate reality of, okay, the kids are playing outside, but then there's this weird white truck that may be coming. Or don't talk to strangers. Don't go get free ice cream from the ice cream man, where this may be a kid's dream. But us as adults, we're seeing, okay, well, they don't understand that there's dangerous people out here. There's dangers out here. So for us, as we're building at the American dream, we want to create a safe space for our generation, for our kids to grow. And it just becomes wealthy. Like it becomes a new cycle of kids creating safe spaces for their families, and it goes on, so on and so forth. But there are so many bad apples that us as adults have to watch out for and guide our children. So for one, the American dream to me is just creating a safe space so our kids can grow and have a beautiful and fruitful life.
So they can experience, like you said, all the fruit that this country has to offer.
Exactly. And understanding it takes a village, but then as adults, we're the ones that have gone and seen so much. It's hard to trust, So you want to build the village, especially these people that come, let's say those that live in low income areas, and let's say they're single families and they don't trust anybody. And there may be so much going on at home. The kids running around, their mom's yelling this, and someone falls and they have nobody to talk to and they're afraid, and it just stays at home. But really, they need help. They don't feel like they have anybody to talk to. They might not understand how the resources here in the community. There's so many resources in Aiken County. There's ACTS, there's so many food pantries, there's the Salvation Army. And they're not just giving back food, they're giving back opportunities, employment opportunities, education, medical resources, so many things, but they don't know that because they're too afraid to go out in the community because of either shame, image, lack of education, whatever these variables are there to keeping them from reaching out for help.
And yeah, I just feel like we're so blessed as a community to have so many of these resources right here in our backyard. And there's so many people who move here, who grow up here, who want to give back and help. So definitely makes it easier, but definitely some very hard work. But just having conversations like this and just prepping people so they know what to look out for and understanding, like you said, they're not troubled youth that just had some pretty negative experiences, and
Right.
just be there to support them and give them a hand up. So I mentioned this before. It's very difficult work. What keeps you motivated to continue? And I'm sure you have some hard days, some stories that you'd like to forget. So what keeps you motivated to doing the work that you're doing?
The fact that justice is being served. Like, unfortunately, we see mugshots every day, but fortunately, it's justified because some of these people may be those that have caused trauma to these children. And when we see that, it just fuels us up because the kid finally spoke up, and said, okay, this was happened to me. And maybe they thought it was a norm, because that had been their reality for so long before they've become prepubescent, before the hormones have struck in, before life taught them that they had a choice. So that had become a norm for so long. When we see, okay, this person that had been taking advantage of this child had finally, been reprimanded. It's amazing. It's an amazing feeling. And the fact that the kid opens up. I like the challenge when I get, especially a teenager, let's say 17, got as tall as me, tough as me, maybe tougher than me. They're more than I've been through, and I'm sitting in here hard. And when I say, you have your way, we got these cameras up here. Yeah, the investigators listening, but we on your side. This is a Child Advocacy Center. We're here to advocate for you. I'm here to give you what you need. Like, you want to walk out of here with a new backpack, getting a new outfit, feel free to, but I need to hear your story. I need to hear your story so we can make sure it doesn't happen to you again.
Yeah. And
once we kind of get those walls down, we go from there, and it feels good when I finally get those walls down. And,
well, it probably feels good for them too, because they've been harboring that, just being able to have an outlet to release that.
And not get in trouble for it. Because finally they kept the secret for so long because they didn't want to get this person in trouble, or they didn't want to continue getting in trouble, or whatever the situation is. Like, you're not going to get in trouble, and I don't want to get in trouble. I tell them all the time, I'm not here to fight with you. I don't want to fight. I want to help you win. I want to help you get this out of you, because this is affecting your education. This is affecting how you're going to move forward in the future, and you are the future. So we start there. We start at this chair, we get vulnerable, and I let them know this is a safe space and we're here to protect them.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So I'll give you the last word here. What do you want people to know, if we haven't mentioned already, about the Child Advocacy Center, and where can people go to support or learn more?
Okay. So the most important thing that I would like for people to know about the Child Advocacy Center is that we have been in the community for a few decades now. And we are a nonprofit community. We only get our referrals from law enforcement and child protective services, but we are a neutral third party. A lot of the times when the family comes in, they think that we're going to take their child away. That's not our job. Our job is to hear your child's story and to advocate for the family. And we do accept donations when they want to drop off snacks, clothes, because we give them back to the community, school supplies for the kids. Feel free to December, because of course families go through seasonal depression, but we also know in Aiken, we're very resourceful out here in Aiken. If you want to see some toys and you want to drop them off, feel free to do that, because we give them to the kids every day.
No, that's awesome. Well, we certainly appreciate the work that you guys do. Like I said, it's hard, but it's needed, and just being able to give these kids a brighter future, I mean, that will just pay dividends for our community in their lives too. So thanks for joining us today, and thanks for sharing a little about your story in Child Advocacy Center.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah.